Jujutsu Kaisen is a pretty cool series. Despite me being a big fan of it, I haven't talked about it on this channel at all. So let's change that by talking about the best aspect of JJK,
the boogie woogie,
the fights. I feel like I have to mention the fact that as of the time of writing this script, Gojo and Sukuna are throwing down and that fight is building up to be pretty hype. I mean, we're seeing Jajankens and Spirit Guns being thrown out. I just know it's going to be sick. But since it's currently just getting started, we can't really class this fight as the best since we haven't really seen any of it yet. What is the best fight then? Well, how about the first fight between these two characters, since this isn't the first time they've thrown down? But let's be real, that wasn't even a fight, but it was pretty cool seeing Sukuna show up for the first time, as well as seeing how far above Gojo is to everyone else in the series in terms of both raw power and abilities, and in turn, comparing that to the current fight which is happening right now, is pretty cool. But not the best fight since it was a straight up wash, like it wasn't even really a fight. Well, what are some of the other hype fights in the series? Well, I feel like if you were to ask someone who was fully caught up of this series, there would be a handful of fights that you would get as an answer. If they've read the manga, they may say Toji vs Gojo and Geto, or maybe Yuji vs Mahito, or maybe even Yuji vs Yuta. For a lot of anime only fans I've talked to, they always seem to say either Yuta vs Geto from JJK Zero is the best, or if that's not their favourite, the Todo and Yuji vs Hanami fight is their favourite. And that makes sense, all of the previously mentioned fights are tight as hell. Most of, if not all the fights in JJK are. However, for me, none of those that I just mentioned are my favourite. I'll give you a couple vague clues to see if you can get it, to test your JJK knowledge and to see if you can guess my favourite fight. The fight starts off with multiple characters versus one other. The fight then gets interrupted and becomes a one-sided stomp. And for the final clue, and the most glaring of all, one of the characters involved in said fight is a big, walking and talking Lovecraft reference. The fight I've been referring to this whole time is the fight between Toji and Dagon. First of all, I need to get a couple of things out of the way before I really start to talk about this fight. Most important of all is the context behind it. Toji enters this fight at around chapter 110, but before that, Maki, Nanami and Naobito had been fighting with Dagon since chapter 106. A whole 4 chapters, and guess what? They're losing badly. Dagon got pissed that Hanami died and as a result became a literal depiction of Cthulhu. Like, Cthulhu was described by Lovecraft himself as being a monster of vaguely anthropoid outline, but with an octopus-like head whose face was a mass of feelers, a scaly, rubbery looking body, prodigious claws on hind and forefeet, and long, narrow wings behind. Now look at Dagon. Like, it's just straight up Cthulhu and happens to share its name with a different Lovecraftian god, Dagon. So, it's just so damn cool. I may be the only person that feels this way about Dagon as a character. It makes sense, because if you didn't know, your boy loves Lovecraft. As the fight continues, everyone is just getting more and more bodied, to the point where Dagon uses his domain expansion, which pretty much traps everyone at Dagon's expansive resorts, where they can't leave and just must fight him. And as a result, Naobito loses an arm, but have no fear, Megumi is here. And he uses his own domain expansion to break inside of Dagon's domain, but it also gives Megumi access to all the weapons he hides inside of his Shadow Garden, which in turn gives Maki access to Playful Cloud. Remember that one goofy looking weapon from that time Hanami was pretty much fighting everyone? Yeah, that. But then they quickly realise that Dagon is a day goat, so they can't defeat him. Their next objective is, of course, survive. Megumi starts trying to open up his domain again, but on the edge of Dagon's domain, so that he can open up a hole for a couple seconds so that everyone can escape. But since he already used his own domain to get into Dagon's chill beach area, he won't really be able to try again since it's pretty taxing on him. So basically, everyone has to try and hold off Dagon while Megumi makes a hole for everyone to escape through. As Megumi attempts to open up this hole so that everyone can get out, guess who jumps in? From the sounds of it, everyone here isn't too sure. Even Dagon begins to think the group of sorcerers opened up this hole so that they could let another sorcerer into his domain, but everyone here is just as confused by this guy. Who is he? And why is he even here? The stranger immediately grabs Playful Cloud out of Maki's hands without even looking at her. Even though Maki's whole gimmick is that she can't see spirits, but as a trade-off, she's super strong, she just got ignored like it was nothing. As everyone's stunned, Nanami realises that their escape option is now closed, and now Dagon knows their plan, so they're probably not going to get another chance to leave. So they think they're pretty much screwed. But then our new future Gohan cosplayer chimes in and identifies the stranger. The Gojo spine chiller, the ghetto blood spiller, the sorcerer killer, Toji Fushiguro, and understandably, the only person here that knows him immediately empties his stomach upon seeing him, for the first time since he died to Gojo. Basically, in anime layman's terms, Toji right now is being revived like Goku was during the Buu saga, only having a finite amount of time on Earth. However, remember when Goku went like SSJ3 and reduced the timer? Well, Toji doesn't have any cursed energy, and this revival technique ends once the person who is being revived runs out of cursed energy. So what does this mean? Toji doesn't have cursed energy, so what happens with this technique? There's no time limit, so it just doesn't end till someone manages to kill Toji. And there's not really many people alive or dead who can just do that. Like, it's a pretty small list. Granted, there is a downside to this revival technique. Since he's currently like a glitch in the JJK Matrix, he slowly loses control of his mind, making him kind of just possessed and killing everything on sight. A puppet of carnage, if you will. Back to the beach. Dagon, kinda pissed that everyone's ignoring him, in his own damn domain, launches an attack at Toji. Toji proceeds to then just blitz Dagon and absolutely mollywop my favourite octopus-headed curse. He's so fast that he is literally walking on water without any power, it's just raw speed, and he's speeding up. Dagon is taking heavy damage from this onslaught, since you see, Playful Cloud as a weapon is different from a lot of other cursed weapons in the series. It's not got like a specific cursed technique attached to it or anything, it's just kind of like an extension of the user's body, meaning it scales to the user's strength. And Toji is pretty strong, and as soon as he gets this weapon worth, quote,
5 billion if you sold it,
he proceeds to mess around with it until the group realises that he started to sharpen it. Dagon, for a split second, thinks, am I about to lose? Then counters in a monologue and thinks, nah, I got this, as long as I buy myself some time first. Dagon then tries to fly away, until Naobito sends him coursing back towards Toji. Toji, the mad lad that he is, propels himself into the air using Playful Cloud like a goddamn pole vault, shoots himself into the air so that he can stab Dagon directly in the face with his new and improved sharpened pogo stick. Dagon gives it his all, screaming, it's not over yet! Give him credit, he tried. And with Toji absolutely stomping Dagon, everyone is free. And they're all left wondering, however, if this revived stranger is even on their side. Until he proceeds to beat the hell out of his estranged son before ending himself so he doesn't end his own bloodline, since he knows that his son sure as hell won't be able to stop him, so he's going to have to stop himself. So, why was this relatively short scuffle between Dagon and Toji my favourite fight from JJK? So far, anyway. Well, there's a few reasons. How everything in this fight is set up. Like, look at the roster we had attempting to beat Dagon. Naobito, a special grade 1 sorcerer and one of the heads of the Zen'in family. Nanami, a grade 1 sorcerer who's thrown down with Mahito before. Maki, even though she's only a grade 4, meaning she should be fodder, she has a heavenly restriction, meaning she's kinda got amped up stats but just can't see spirits without her glasses, meaning she's like around a grade 2 sorcerer at a minimum, or is at least compared to such at this point in the story anyway. All those characters combined cannot even touch Dagon, to the point where their main objective is switched from defeat to survive. Then add Megumi, a grade 2 sorcerer at the time, and still nothing can be done to Dagon. Then we add a little bit of Toji into the mix, and he blitzes Dagon with little to no difficulty, and on top of that, he did so with a tool that was used chapters and chapters previously. We've already seen Toji in his prime, with the ability to be able to kill the 2 strongest sorcerers of his era. But he didn't. Then, when he shows up again, he just cleans up. There are just so many little things I love about this fight. The way Dagon kind of reacts similarly to how Toji did in his fight against Gojo. Both having a chance to escape, but both going against their instinct, and instead, they both keep on fighting, resulting in both of their respective deaths. The way Toji takes a tool we've seen being used against other special grades like in the Hanami fight, a tool that is spoken of as if it's a god tier weapon, being crudely sharpened into a pointy stick by Toji, speaks volumes about his character, and how despite the fact he's losing control of his mind, he's still straight up cold. The fight is, however, unfortunately short, since it is an absolute stomp. It does result in my favourite character design being stabbed in the face by my favourite character, but watching it happen is an absolute joy. Whilst this fight is up there as my personal favourite fight, currently, I know that there are plenty of other fights that people much prefer, and if you have any other JJK fight suggestions that you'd like me to make a video about in this format, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Anyway, outro time.